So mad. Sorry to hear that.
All right, if everyone could be seated at this time, that'd be great. I'm going to call the Dekalb City Council regular meeting of January 10th, 2022 to order. Roll call, please.
Morris.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
McAdams.
Here.
Verbic.
Here.
Favor.
Here.
Mayor Barnes.
Here.
8 present.
Excellent. And for Pledge of Allegiance, 2021 was a pretty incredible year for the city of DeKalb. And, you know, just to maybe kick it off on the right foot, I figure why not start by having our city manager, who has led us into what wasn't a great 2021, and I'm hoping an amazing 2022, with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to agenda item C, approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Verbic, seconded by Alderwoman Morris, I think I heard. Roll call, please.
Morris.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Favor.
Yes.
Mayor Barnes.
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, the agenda is approved. Moving on to agenda item D, presentations. We have none. Moving on to agenda item E, public participation. I believe we have Mark Charvat that wants to speak during public participation.
Good evening, Council. Good evening to the folks at home. Happy New Year's to the folks at home as well. Since I've been observing this council, I have heard elected officials, along with department heads, encourage citizens of our community to get involved with the process. I think these words are somewhat empty, at least what I've discovered so far in the new year. Not a great way to start off the new year. Many citizens have done just that. And how do we get thanked? We get insulted. And what makes it particularly disturbing is that these insults come from the top. These comments are pointed toward our city manager, Bill Nicholas. Let me explain the most recent occurrence to start the new year. Tonight on the consent agenda, you guys are being asked to approve $10 million in bills to pay. Now, for those at home, the consent agenda is utilized by the city council quite often to hide things from the public because the items on the consent agenda don't get a separate vote. I've always been a long advocate of having a separate vote and discussion on any expenditure, and a $10 million expenditure is a pretty hefty number here, and to hide it on the consent agenda is pretty sad. So you ask, well, what's the issue with the bills to pay, the $10 million? Part of the consent agenda, one of the items you're being asked to approve is an expenditure for one of our volunteer commissions. Nope, I use the word volunteer because all of our committees and commissions are volunteer. Never in our city's history have we ever paid a stipend, salary, or fee for a volunteer citizen to attend a commission meeting and serve. Apparently, this practice has been in place for over 5 years, and our city manager did not even know about it. When I was looking over the details of the bill pay, I discovered an issue. I notified my alderman, who passed on the note to our city manager. Now, this all happened yesterday. My alderman had no idea. I don't think the rest of you have any idea because none of you really bother to look at any of the stuff on the consent agenda, which is sad. I discovered the error, pointed it out. City manager responded to me with a false explanation initially as to the rationale why members of the Planning and Zoning Commission are paid. His email response stated later that payments were an anomaly to describe payments that our city's making. For the he says, quoting now, this is his quote from an email, "For 3 years that I've been city manager, I have not been aware of a stipend for plan commissioners because it's not mentioned in municipal code or the Unified Development Ordinance." I pointed out this fact as well. He went on to state, no volunteer boards or commissions are reimbursed for their time. Well, this has been going on for the past 5 years. When I explained to Mr. Nicholas that this was indeed a problem due to lack of oversight by him or his staff, he responded back to my comments in an email saying, "Shame on you. Your demagoguery has risen to a new level. I was merely pointing out that we need oversight." So you're thinking, okay, does this allow citizens to get involved here, this sort of treatment? A lot of citizens, most citizens are not willing to actually partake in this process. Our city manager in the past has referred to individuals in our city who follow the goings-on closely as the
That's 3 minutes, Mr. Charvat. Thank you.
I'm going to continue my comments on the consent agenda, so note that I will continue. I've timed it out. Thank you.
You were advised yesterday afternoon that this took place in 2011 in a vote. You were advised in email. We know this because we've all seen the email that was sent to you.
It was in a vote.
So, yeah. So you went on the internet and you maligned people who work for the city, who volunteer for the city. You maligned their personal character. You said they committed illegal acts by accepting money.
No, this
You
is not a
said
dialogue,
illegal.
Mr. Charvat. You can sit down. You had your turn. No, you had your turn. Sit down. You had your turn. Sit
You
down.
had your turn.
And now he gets to speak.
I have the floor,
Exactly.
courtesy of the voters. I get that you want to be the one. I get it. You want to be the one that brings the big drama. And then we'll all cut your taxes and you won't have to pay taxes, right? That's what it is? That's your motivation? What's your motivation for doing it? You said that they committed illegal acts. I don't even get along with Mac, but you did him dirty. You did him dirty on the internet. You went on your page and you made up this story. You invented this story about how it was illegal and how they're all crooks. You owe everyone that you named specifically in that comment, in that post, you owe them an apology. Mark, you're well aware you run DeKalb County issues.
Yeah.
You're well aware that you use this to malign public officials. You are well aware. You do it the same way every time. You make up a story. You're absolutely dramatic. You're wrong. You're proven wrong, and you never apologize. You were wrong. You were wrong. You were wrong. Take the page down. Stop doing that. It's a new year. Start off new. Find a new hobby to do than this nonsense that you pull every single time that you get something in your craw and you decide to go off the deep end and you malign people. Everyone who serves on planning and zoning are good people who are serving the city. They don't deserve on a Sunday afternoon to have their character called into question with no way to defend themselves over something that you learned quickly was untrue and didn't recant. We have all been very patient. They've told me many times, don't engage him, don't engage Mark, don't start it, because all he's looking for is the attention. This is ridiculous. Stop doing this to elected officials everywhere in DeKalb County of every stripe, of making up stories, not recanting your stories, not checking your facts, and just going with the most ridiculous, most dramatic thing that you can go with every single time. We're all sick of it. Nobody in the city appreciates this effort on your behalf, that you think that you're serving the city.
No, he gets all the time he wants because he's a council member and this is my meeting.
Yes.
No, it's our meeting that's conducted in public, sir. You had your 3 minutes.
Turn over a new leaf. It's a new year, a new you. Before you go to the mat and insult people
On a Sunday afternoon.
on a Sunday afternoon when they can't defend themselves.
Or we
Before-
got to spin up people to respond to it and spend taxpayer money, overtime, a lot of extra energy to get answers to these things on a Sunday afternoon instead of on a regular weekday where we're asking politely, hey, could you look into this because I discovered something?
And then don't come down here and restage the drama, knowing full well that it was passed in 2011 and you just didn't know about it. And once you were made aware of it, you should have immediately recanted. Take that page down. Take it all the way down and get a new hobby. I understand.
And I appreciate City Manager Nicholas making a quick response rather than dedicating a ton of time on a Sunday. Just off the top of your head, this is how you thought about this. This is what you understood it to be. That does not mean it's 100% because we cannot take city time on Sunday afternoons especially to involve multiple people to dig through 10 years worth of information in order to get an answer on a $25 stipend for a commission when that's something we could easily address during the weekday, during regular city time, and if it's something that needs to come before council, it'll come before council, and we have no problem whatsoever making a modification to the ordinance in order to have that be a continued piece going forward, or it's something we discontinued. Was there anything else, Alderman McAdams?
No, I'm good. Thank
All right.
you.
All right, so public participation is concluded. We'll move on to appointments. Agenda item F. So number one, Council, I have before you the appointments of the Transit Site Selection Committee. We have Matt Duffy, Executive Director of the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce, Jennifer Gross, Director of the Community Promotion at Northern Illinois University, Steve Irving, owner of Irving Construction, Ellingsworth Webb, Property Manager for Eden Garden Apartments, Tracy Smith, City of DeKalb, 3rd Ward Alderman and Operations Manager at Voluntary Action Center for Northern Illinois, Zach Gill, City of DeKalb Engineer, Co-Chair, and Marcus Cox, City of DeKalb Transit Manager, Co-Chair. Discussion on these appointments. Hearing none. Roll call, Ruth?
We need a motion and a second, Mayor.
Oh, can I have a motion to approve these?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderwoman Morris. Roll call, please. And thanks, Ruth.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Abstain.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
7 aye.
The appointments pass. Appreciate it, everybody. All right, moving on to agenda item G, approval of the minutes. Minutes submitted by the city clerk, we have none, so I'll just move on to agenda item 2. Minutes submitted by the recording secretary, minutes of the regular city council meeting of December 13, 2021. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Alderman Smith?
Again, I'm going to bring this up. Where's the city clerk, again, in attendance?
The city clerk let us know at, I think it was about 5:20, that he, and this is all public record because he emailed it to us, he was exposed to COVID 5 days ago and went and had a test right before the meeting and is awaiting the results.
Thank you, sir.
You betcha. So I have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, roll call?
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
All right, the minutes pass. Thanks for getting those done, Ruth. Then moving on to consent agenda, item H, we have Mark Charvat for public comment. I'll remind you, Mr. Charvat, you have 3 minutes.
Continuing my comments regarding the payment for the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, in the email that I received from the city manager, he never did pull up any sort of document that told me that there was anything passed. So, Mr. McAdams, I'm not sure where you're getting your information from in our email exchange with the city manager. And in reference to maligning members of our Planning and Zoning Commission, no such maligning has ever taken place. The members of our Planning and Zoning Commission serve our city well. My problem is the fact that there is payment that the city manager acknowledged he did not know existed for the members of our Planning and Zoning Commission. You need to deal with fact. You show me in an ordinance where this was passed. I did not find an ordinance. Our city manager did not find an ordinance. You guys are going to pass this on the consent agenda tonight. So you guys either need to provide direction or come up with some sort of ordinance that pays the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. There is nothing on the books that states this. So the information that you received and I received via email from our city manager are obviously different, Mr. McAdams. So watch your comments, my friend.
Watch your comments, that's funny. Especially after sad, hide, concealed, illegal. You know, I am looking forward to, this is a perfect opportunity to remedy something that transpired in the past, and obviously the bookkeeping didn't get done. So City Manager Nicholas, I would love to have something in the future brought forward to us so we can make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's on this one.
I will. In the interim, since the email exchange yesterday, I discovered that this has been going on in approved, council-approved budgets since 2006. So the council's approved the payments. There hasn't been enough time to go back and look at every minute of every council meeting over the last 16 years, but I'm presuming that there was some discussion about this a long time ago, long before anybody who's presently sitting on the council was in office. And so from a legal standpoint, it's part of the budget. Has been part of the fabric of the city's finances for a long time. Along came a new city manager on January 1st, 2019, And this was not something that I was briefed on, not something I thought to ask about, not something that appeared, as I mentioned yesterday in some exchanges on the record in our municipal code, but neither is every inch of the budget. So the council has taken other steps along the way to approve this, and so if it were to diverge from that, then it would be a departure from what the council has approved in the past, and you can do that as you please.
Wonderful. Easy remedy. All right, we have the consent agenda. Let me get my glasses. So agenda item H, we have number 1, accounts payable and payroll through December 27th, 2021 in the amount of $7,441,329.52. And number 2, accounts payable and payroll through January 10th, 2022 in the amount of $1,461,704.02. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderwoman Larson, seconded by Alderman Favor. Discussion, council? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Perkins,
Yep.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 ayes.
All right, the consent agenda passes. All right, moving on to public hearings. I'm going to go ahead and call the public hearing to order. The time is 6:16. This is a public hearing on the city's 2022 Annual Action Plan, one-year use of funds under the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, program. Are there anyone in attendance that want to speak to this item? Okay, hearing none. City Manager Nicholas?
Mayor, this does come up as an action item later in the agenda. I'll just say at this moment, as we do every year in concert with the requirements of the Housing and Urban Development Department of the federal government, we invite public comment. On occasion, it's of a longer range 5-year consolidated plan that was done about a year ago. And at this point, we're just inviting public comment on our 2022 annual action plan as it's proposed and presented in the background tonight.
City Council, any discussion on this? We'll be talking about it a little bit later, too. All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:17 p.m. Ruth, is there any action we need to take on that, or I opened it and I closed it and we're good?
Correct.
All right, wonderful. All right, moving on to agenda item J, considerations, we have none. And then moving on to agenda item K, resolutions. Resolution 2022-001, authorizing a funding agreement with the DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation, DCDC, in the amount of $35,000 for economic development services from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Can I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Alderman Verbic, seconded by Alderman Favor. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the first of 3 annual grants that the council has been making for some time. They were referenced in the 2022 budget that was approved in December. There was some discussion as we went through the budget with the FAC back in mid-November about the origin of this, which is in the Community Development Department budget. In this particular case, the resolution would authorize the funding agreement with DeKalb County Economic Development Corporation. I don't know if Paul Fork is here tonight. He said he might have a conflict. Normally he's here for these. The reason there's a resolution is that's what we typically do in relation to an organizational grant such as this. The corporation's role has been consistent since back in the 80s when it was organized, and the city of DeKalb was one of the founding partners in that organization and also has a permanent seat on the executive committee and on the full board. The corporation, as people in the room know, is often an initial point of contact for prospects looking at our community. This is a very valuable service for us and for other communities in the county, else we would probably have to identify a staffer who would have the time to basically follow up on these cold calls very often. They're also the clearinghouse for a lot of labor market information and other types of statistical data that that companies that are just taking a 10,000-foot view of our community are looking to gather before they want to even talk to anybody from the government. So this is a key player in that whole process. Our long-range relationship has been successful. We all know about the fact that the county has identified, the county EDC, the Dekalb government, I should say, has identified the DeKalb County EDC as their administrator of the enterprise zone, which is part of a statewide system, has been very important in attracting prospects to our community. So we feel that at the staff level that a continuation of this grant support is important, and we recommend your approval.
Didn't DCDC as well petition down at the state level to add data centers to the enterprise zone or make a modification for that?
I could go on, but that's a very important point. And so they're active with legislators, our state legislators and others to see that the county and we're the largest population center in the county gets the attention we deserve.
Council. Seeing no comments, roll call, please.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 ayes.
Resolution 2022-001 passes. All right, moving on to resolution number 2. Resolution 2022-002, authorizing an FY 2022 tourism agreement with the DeKalb County Convention and Visitors Bureau in the amount of $35,000 for tourism activities from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderwoman Morris. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Another grant to a not-for-profit that has been involved in marketing our community, in this case to a variety of prospects, not just commercial prospects, but also those who are looking to come to our community and help entertain the people who are permanent residents here. And one of the most notable examples of that would be their role and their continuing support for the IHSA High School Football Championships and State Wrestling Championships that have been here every other year for the last 10 years. We have supported the CVB, as it's the Convention Visitors Bureau, as it's often referred to, for a long time, for many years. A couple of years ago, partly because of our own economic constraints, we reduced what had been a standing $50,000 a year grant to $40,000 and then to $35,000 2 years ago. It was that last year, and that's what is proposed to you this year. We recognize that we're the largest municipal governmental funder of the CVB in the county. But then for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, the tremendous impact of those two championship weekends, we are the largest beneficiary as well. So we have recommended another year of the grant at that level, and we hope you'll support that.
City Council? Again, I believe, Alderwoman Larson.
I just have one question. Since we are such a large portion of their budget, is there at any time where we can just do a DeKalb City on our own and not have to go through the county?
Well, we still need some people to do it, and so there had been briefly some conversation about that 2 years ago,
Okay.
and when this was up at the council level. I think a reasonable approach right now is to wait and see what the state of Illinois does with their championships. There's a lottery that's pending, and if we continue to participate in that, that's a lot of advance work out of our town, vis-a-vis the state, that would be helpful to have somebody else do in our behalf. But if that doesn't come to pass, and let's say it all falls back to Champaign, as it had been 10 years ago, then I think we have a conversation.
Okay.
looking into next year.
Thank you.
And they do a lot of programs like Bold Spirits
They
is
do.
where they bring in like Jamie Walters and the Distillery and Byers Brewery and Ford's Brewery. But then, yeah, IHSA, if I remember right, they said it was $800,000 in money that's coming into our community, with most of that falling right within the city of DeKalb in expenditures. And Courtney Strohacker, the new executive director, I'll say new for the last 2 years, pretty good dynamo, spends a lot of time. And obviously, since we're the largest municipality, a lot of that time is spent, with DeKalb. So my involvement, even though distant with them, it always seems like it's a pretty good spend overall. But you're right, that's something we should always address, that could we do it on our own, and should we do it on our own? Any other comments, council? All right, roll call, please.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2022-002 passes. All right, moving on to agenda item 3, Resolution 2022-003, authorizing a funding agreement with the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $35,000 for the purpose of facilitating community events from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderman McAdams. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. For over 2 decades, we've been supporting either the Chamber or prior to that, it was Renew DeKalb and Main Street, in behalf of somebody who would take on the scheduling, the management of events, and in particular, those focused in our downtown area, but not exclusively. And in recent years, the last 10 years or so, the focus has been with the Chamber, and this, in effect, going to Alderwoman Larson's point earlier, to the support for one almost full-time person to do that. And there are a lot of events that occur during 2020. Very few of them did because of COVID. Last year, some more. It also involves the farmers market, and more recently Santa's arrival, and all those weekend type events that the Chamber has been part of. We've been helping them support that one person who's out there organizing those, and ribbon cuttings and things like that. So we support continuing this. It's been pretty successful in bringing people downtown, particularly the farmers market, which is important in the warmer months, and we hope you'll support it as well.
Council, comments, questions? Hearing none, roll call.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2022-003 passes. All right, moving on to agenda item K4, Resolution 2022-004, authorizing human services funding agreements in the amount of $200,000 with local social service agencies beginning January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Can I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderwoman Morris. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a different program than Cdbg, which we'll be talking about later in the agenda, and we've already had a public hearing on. This is a program that is entirely funded by the city's general revenues. The level of funding for the last 10 years or so has been generally in the vicinity of $100,000 a year. The council, or excuse me, $150,000 a year. The council this year added another $50,000, with the $50,000 that was added to be focused on new agencies that have been funded before, maybe not new to our community. And also some startups that you might say are incubator programs that are searching for a way to be more relevant to our community and to have some roots and the ability to house their services at an early stage of their development. So I've spread for you over a number of pages with the help of Joanne Rouse, who is our very able and very dedicated community development
It's an
coordinator.
understatement.
And she's in the audience tonight, so if I fail on this, you're free to jump in. But on pages 6 and 7, you can see the breakdown of community programs, agencies that are often applicants for this kind of support, certainly worthy. But as you can see, the money can only go so far. This year we had over $300,000 in applications, and notwithstanding that fact, we're trying to do a little bit for everybody, basically, and as well as some new entries. So on page 7 and into 8, you can see what the new entries were, and 3 of those are currently housed in the city's building at 217 South 4th Street. There are metrics that are used by Joanne and the vetting committee that meets a number of times every year to not only go through applications, but also to get regular reports on the progress toward the goals that are identified in the applications. I think it's a good program. I think it is rigorously managed by Joanne Rouse and the city, and I fully support the additional money that was in the budget this year that the council's already approved. This is the breakdown of how that might go out, and I won't presume to second guess Joanne on any of this. She works with a review team, and I think their process was valuable and also worthy of your consideration.
Council, questions, comments? Alderman McAdams? Oh, sorry, Alderwoman Morse?
Yeah, I'm just curious who the review team was comprised of.
You can come up, Joanne, to the mic. That'd be great.
I apologize if that's in the background and I overlooked it.
This year, the review team was comprised of a member from the police department, someone from community development, someone from the IT department. Your taxi, I didn't bring all the names with me. 2 more, Dan. Oh, yeah, a management analyst. So we try to pick from various departments throughout the city to get different perspectives on the funding and what their interactions are with the various agencies, so that we get sort of a 360 review.
Thank you.
Alderman Verbeek. Joanne, hang on
Joanne,
1 sec.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for all you do, and it's wonderful that we're able to do more this year. The need is out there to do even more.
Yes.
So what can we do? How can we better partner with our other governing bodies to better coordinate services, if that's even possible, so that we could accumulate more investment toward the need that's out there?
I think that by giving some new agencies the opportunity this year, it allows them to build a history of success. Some of them are brand new startups, so they are just hitting the ground this year and making their first efforts. The fact that the city's willing to support them and to give them the opportunity to show us what they can do, I think will help them as they move forward in time. The more success they have, the more likely it is that other entities will also invest in their services. So,
Wonderful. Thank you.
thanks. Anything else?
Any other comments?
Mayor, I just might
Yes.
add, and I appreciate the comment from Alderwoman Morris. I asked when I was first hired, well, why don't we have some community representatives of the various agencies? As you can see the list here, most all agencies, including some that weren't awarded, are involved in applying for, so that would be a conflict. So it's just hard to do. So we as Joanne said, we try to, using the perspective of folks who approach those in need around our community every year from their own perspectives, fire, police, community development, public works, and so forth. We try to bring in different flavors, so that's why.
Alderwoman Morris?
Yeah, I just want to note that I am thrilled to see that we worked hard to include new groups, new organizations. I think that there isn't a lot of opportunity for those organizations to begin. And so this is a huge opportunity, some startup money.
Absolutely. Anyone else in council? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Abstain.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Abstain.
6-0.
All right, resolution 2022-005. Wait, nope, that was 2022-004 passes. All right, moving on to resolution 2022-005, approving the Community Development Block Grant 2022 Annual Action Plan, one-year use of funds for program year 29, April 1, 2022 through March 31st, 2023. Can I get a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Alderman McAdams, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a lot more detail in the background to the agenda, and the summary that I've given you just focuses the council's attention on some general categories of need that are being addressed, and those include owner-occupied housing rehab, which has been more important in the last year and a half because of COVID and the constraints that's put on some people's incomes and the ability just to keep their places warm and well-roofed and so forth. Public services, we've done a number of things to augment other sources, whether it's handicap sidewalks in total in some areas that have not seen repairs for decades. And these are all qualified census tracts with that qualify for that kind of HUD support. Public facilities and improvements and administration. So these are just very broad categories, and then the more specific categories under them. And the $400,000 doesn't go very far, but it's our allocation this year. We got more money during the I don't know if I can say the height of the COVID pandemic. Is this it? I don't know. But a year ago, that was considered it. And so the federal government was putting out a lot more money, and we were the beneficiary of that. This year, we're back to closer to the average that we get on an annual basis. And that $400,000 is very important, and we have included all of that in our action plan, and we hope you'll support it.
Council? Hearing no questions or comments, roll call, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8-0.
Resolution 2022-005 passes. All right. Agenda item K6, Resolution 2022-006, authorizing the intergovernmental agreement with the Dekalb Township Road District pertaining to snow removal through March 31st, 2023. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Verbic, seconded by Alderman Smith. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We work closely with DeKalb Township's Road District, and Andy Ryan in particular is our main liaison. We share, so we don't drop a plow, pick up a plow, drop a plow on areas that are overlapping jurisdictional areas on our streets and byways. So in recent years, we have identified those areas, and as you read the background, the agreement, you'll see that we're looking to basically share responsibility for snow removal and de-icing in an organized fashion, and we have reciprocal responsibilities if we do damage to the roads. We take care of our problems. We hope you'll support this.
Council? Great use of two taxing bodies coming together to help each other out and save some taxpayer dollars. All right, hearing no questions or comments, roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2022-006 passes. All right, agenda item K7, Resolution 2022-007, approving the Transportation Improvement Program, TIPS, for federal fiscal years 2023 through 2027 at the DeKalb Taylor Municipal Airport. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderwoman Larson, seconded by Alderman Favor. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. What is referred to in this Transportation Improvement Program are kinds of improvements that are heavily funded by the Federal Aviation Administration, and these funds are annually funneled through the State of Illinois Department of Transportation, Division of Aeronautics, so a lot of acronyms that come into play here. But for those of you who have been to airport board meetings, and Alderman Favor is a council liaison there, and this is very familiar to him. The city has been a beneficiary of the federal grants in support of general aviation airports for a long time, but most especially since the mid to late 90s, when land was being acquired and ultimately the new runway was being built, and now we're in a stage where we're having to resurface some of those earlier improvements because time and the elements and use have worn them down, just like streets, and not as aggressively as car and dump truck traffic. They don't drive on the runways, but for obvious reasons, if you're landing a plane, the littlest crack or object protruding is going to be more of a problem than if you happen to snag it with your tire while you're driving down a highway and byway. So a lot of federal money flows in this direction. We have to apply for this. It takes years for the system to digest local applications. What's up this year in our Transportation Improvement Program are items, if you look on pages 10 and 11, they say funded. So as far as the federal government and the state Division of Aeronautics are concerned, their money is good for these. So it's up to you now to say, yeah, we like these. The order of these has long, as I said, it takes some years. So the first ideas for these might have started 5 years ago, and they were stacked, and the Airport Advisory Board is involved in this every year. The first thing to come out, and there is an item on the agenda immediately following this, is the Rehabilitation of Taxiway C, which runs along the newer runway, the northeast-southwest runway, the longest that we have, and that would be this year. It says FY21. That's because they stay on there until either we use the money or in a position to use the money, or the feds say, don't look like you're going to use this money, we're going to give it to somebody else. And we don't want that to happen. So this is the year for that. There are 3 other projects on there, also funded by the federal and state government, that require your concurrence in this particular TIP plan, and we ask for your support.
City Council? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Resolution 2022-007 passes. Moving on to agenda item K8, Resolution 2022-008, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation, Division of Aeronautics for Construction Services for the milling and overlay of Taxiway C, project DKB-4875 at the Dekalb Taylor Municipal Airport. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderman McAdams. City Manager.
This is a pretty large project, over $1.4 million. The good news is, for this particular one, we don't owe anything. The federal government has stepped up and is going to.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
We don't owe anything, and I'm certain of that. So we're happy with that, and we hope you'll support this.
Council. I'm not hearing a lot of refusals, so hearing that, roll call, please.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
So Resolution 2022-008 passes. For the next two resolutions, K9 and K10, I have to recuse myself from the meeting because according to state statute, I own property in the TIF district, and I cannot be a part of the discussion or the vote on the architectural improvement program. So if council doesn't mind, I'm going to hand the gavel over to Senior Alderman Favor to run the meeting for the next two agenda items. Thank you, sir.
Item 9, Resolution 2022-009, authorizing an architectural improvement program economic incentive for KJ's Bar and Grill, 518 East Lincoln Highway, in the amount of $2,415. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
So I have a motion by Alderman Smith and Alderman Perkins, City Manager.
Thank you, Acting Chair. We are going to talk about, in the next two items, this item and the next item, two applications for our architectural improvement program. That's a program which I spent a little time elaborating upon it's a new year. I guess I thought that people might be looking in and wondering what this is. In other communities, there's something like a facade program as part of the TIF program, and this is an echo of that. It can be more substantial than that. There are tiers of reimbursement. The work has to be done, and then there's reimbursement. And sometimes for maintenance, it's a lesser amount, depending on the degree of it. What we have here is a roof repair, an application for some assistance with that. The AIP program would consider this deferred maintenance. Because the property is within TIF 3, it is eligible, and the applicant went through the process of providing a couple of bids. Olson Roofing has completed the job, which is a substantial job, at $24,150. 10% though comes to $2,415. That is what he has requested from us, and we support that.
Any comments? No. Roll call?
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
7 aye.
Resolution passes. Item 10, Resolution 2022-010, authorizing an architectural improvement program economic incentive for Stagecoach Players, 126 South 5th Street, in the amount of $9,500. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So motion made by Alderman McAdams, seconded by Alderman Verbic. City Manager.
Oh, thank you. Similarly, the building that houses our Stagecoach Players experienced, unfortunately, a collapse of their heating system just as the holiday performances were about to begin. They had to act pretty quickly. Similarly, we got a couple of estimates from them. They went and proceeded with the job, which is about $19,000. It was very substantial work, and that was the lowest two proposals. It was by a very reputable local general or contractor, Dekalb Mechanical. In this case, they were entitled to 50% of the project cost because it's generally recognized for mechanical problems of this sort, which allow a business to stay open or not. The council could allocate 50%. That 50% would be $9,500. The paperwork has been submitted. It's an appropriate use of the money, and we support the application.
Any comments? Roll call?
Favor?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
McAdams?
Yes.
Burbick?
Yes.
7-I.
Thank you.
Resolution passes. Thank you.
You went home.
You may not want to come back. I can carry it from here if you need me. If you need me to, I can carry it from here.
You did such a great job.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it. Alderman Favor?
You're welcome.
All right. All right, moving on to agenda item K11, Resolution 2022-011, authorizing the purchase of two 2022 Rosenbauer fire engines through Rosenbauer America in the amount not to exceed $1,415,740. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second?
Moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman McAdams. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The background describes this in some further detail. I'll just hit the highlights. In the process of preparing the 22 budget, we had discussion about both of these purchases because both are included in the 22 budget. The first for the replacement of engine 3 was anticipated back in 2020, but you remember a lot of things happened in 2020. The COVID impact on us fiscally was very significant. The money that had been allocated for this was brought back into the general fund by a budget amendment by this council in order to shore up operations. And so it was deferred and also deferred in 2021. But the engine is not going to last as long as our conservative financing impulses are lasting. And it's time. This is a very, it's an engine with a lot of hard miles on it. 120,000 miles is a lot of miles, local street miles for an engine. This engine is truly on its last legs, and the other engine that is on your agenda tonight, engine 2, to be replaced, which is a pumper as well, is of roughly the same vintage. It's got fewer miles, but it's in worse shape. So in anticipation of this, and there's been lots of conversation between me and the acting chief, Thomas, on this and others, the budget provided for the replacement of both. And we had hoped to get some benefit from ordering two. Now, how do you go about ordering an engine? We don't, they're not just sitting on a lot. They might have been at one time, but they're not anymore. Companies that make these, which are handmade or which are made to the customer's specifications, are not keeping inventory, so you try to get in line and get there early. And what also we're finding is that the delays are significant. Those that are coming off the line because the company's taking a chance to kind of have some product ready are being snatched up right away. And the prices, as you've been following the financial news, are going up. There's going to be a major price increase in 2022. We can get both for for considerably less, about $150,000 less, plus there may be an additional discount if we, you can hear the commercial, order now. Of course, they don't advertise these with other things on the TV. I appreciate the work that's been done on this by the fire department, by all echelons within the department, looking at specifications and so forth, how we can provide this a heightened level of service at a price that we can afford here. And so what they have proposed actually is the first engine comes as soon as it can be made and delivered in the next couple of months. And it comes with the new ladders and so forth. Now, ladders that go on a fire truck, you don't buy them at a local home improvement center. They're designed to fit that particular unit and fit different needs as the firemen arrive at a fire, right? So we're looking to outfit the first one with new equipment. The second will cannibalize engines 2 and 3 and fill that with the equipment, because we can, out of all that, pull out the best, and it'll be very serviceable. It will meet the OSHA requirements and NFPA requirements and so forth. So the total that was budgeted was $1,550,000. The total here with the ups and extras for that first engine are $1,415,740, and maybe a few more small discounts that happen if we can get council's commitment tonight. I heartily recommend this. I think they did their homework in the fire department. I thank Acting Chief Thomas. Noah Millard is here tonight, and Noah has been at many of our meetings, and he's been involved with others in some of these work groups looking at specifications. I appreciate his work on this as well. There is not going to be a time when this will be any cheaper. I sincerely don't think so, and a year from now, if we don't do this and proceed as we can afford to do this year, I think we'll regret it. So I strongly recommend that we go for both of these. We don't have to pay for them until they're received. The second one would not be received until November, most likely. So we'll be able to, from a cash standpoint, address these as they come in, and without having to do any somersaults and so forth in terms of our reserves and money on hand.
City Council? Alderman Smith?
I had the chance to talk to a couple of guys who actually sat on the committee and went down, and they're very excited about this. They've come up with a great plan, like you said, of cannibalizing. They have it laid out in their heads, and I really think we should thank them for that. They put a lot of time and effort into that, Chief. I want people to understand that, and maybe this will put the Chief on, maybe test his ability. How much money are we going to save in maintenance on those engines? I mean, we are talking a lot of money, if I'm so bold.
I don't have a crystal ball, but in 2021, just engine 3 alone, I know we were approaching $35,000 in maintenance.
Correct. Thank you. I mean, so we are going to see some substantial savings, not only from the first year, but any consecutive years in the maintenance. And I think this company has a unique maintenance program. They actually come on site to help resolve issues that could reduce our costs. So I just want the public to aware that due diligence has really been done in this area and for council. So I really thank you for that. Here.
Council? All right, hearing none, roll call.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Faber,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8
Resolution 2022-011 passes. And yeah, thanks again, Firefighter Millard and Acting Chief Thomas, for all your hard work and due diligence on that. All right, moving on to agenda item L, ordinances, second reading. We have none. So moving on to agenda item M, ordinances, first reading. Number 1, ordinance 2022-001, amending the Chapter 10 landlord-tenant regulations. Can I have a motion to bring it to the floor?
So moved.
A move by Alderwoman Morris, seconded by Alderman McAdams. I do believe we have Joe Gastiger here as well from the Human Relations Commission, but City Manager, if you want to kick it off.
Well, I'll kick it off, and Joe Gasker, who is the chair currently of the Human Relations Commission, is certainly welcome to add his thoughts to this. He has presided over the most recent conversations of what's before you tonight. I want to note that former chair Larry Apperson guided the discussion for the better part of the first year, starting in the middle of really the spring of 2020 through much of 2021, and thank him for his service as well. This has been an interesting collaboration. First of all, there was an update in 2019. It was mostly guided by concerns that our city attorneys had about bringing it up to speed with more recent state statutory revisions, and we did that. And that was before we engaged the community in late May and early June of 2020 in a new conversation about how we connect with one another and relate to one another, and much prompted by George Floyd's murder and the reaction, not only locally but nationally and internationally. And in that context, often in those conversations about civil rights and civil opportunities, we talked about housing, and and this council had several special meetings to talk about the quality of housing in the community and what can we do to make sure that tenants have their rights observed, but also that the reciprocal responsibilities of tenants and landlords are made very clear to both parties as they engage in that contractual relationship. And so the Human Relations Commission was well aware that there are two sides to this conversation. Early on invited in the DARA representatives and the DeKalb Area Rental Association, Mrs. DARA. I want to also thank Will Heinisch, Glenn Roby, and Mike Pitsley, who were often at the point of those conversations in behalf of DARA, but they were not alone. There were others as well. It was frankly, to watch it was a humbling experience. It made me very proud to be a resident of DeKalb. Tough questions, tough conversations, amicable resolution to those. And in no small part because of Joe's and Larry's tutelage on a monthly basis we meet. And so what's before you are a variety of things which have been outlined for your review. Some are kind of low-level rental agreements must be in writing. That doesn't seem like much, but that hasn't always been the case depending on the landlord and the management group, and I'm not going to name names, but we kind of know where we stand there. And in addition to making the kind of the rules known, there's also the protections against unexpected intrusions into the living space at the whim of those who are managing an apartment or the units in our community. We're also encouraging people to read the leases that they sign, both parties, so that everybody knows what their responsibilities are, and so forth. They're enumerated here for you. There's more to it, but these are the key pieces that were part of almost a monthly discussion. I'm happy to say that at the meeting in December, we decided to go forward, and here we are. We hope you'll support this
Bless you.
Draft that's on your agenda.
Council? Alderwoman Morris?
How does this apply in, so for example, we've got every landlord must make the city's landlord-tenant handbook available to every
Yes.
tenant at no cost to the tenant. So do these apply now, say for example, to an existing
Yeah.
tenant?
Yeah.
So at this point in time, moving forward, how much time do landlords get to make sure everyone's gotten a
That's a good
handbook?
question. Frankly, every tenant should have a copy of the landlord-tenant handbook. It's something the council put a lot of time into starting 10 years ago and is updated as well. That's a piece of this fabric. And I think what's going to happen, and I think it'd be prudent for us as a city officials to follow up on this, and myself included, is to make sure DARA and its members, which isn't they don't represent every landlord, but most landlord and management firms, make sure that their new tenants and existing tenants all have landlord-tenant handbooks. I mean, it is available online. It's available on the city's website. But just to make that information known, as we get complaints, and we do every week, from people who are saying, I don't know what my rights are, but my heat's out, the water's, I can't get the water to turn off, whatever the issue is. Sometimes we point them to that, and do you have a lease? Well, no, I can't find it, or I don't know if I was ever given a written lease. So there are provisions in here to make sure that people are within a short period of time. the old trick in book is say, oh, I'll get it to you, and then you never get it. So all these things should come to pass, and we'll just have to watch and observe, and as you have any complaints that come your way, we should know about those, and then we can deal one-on-one with the landlords on this.
So I think it sounds good, because it sounds like theoretically, if landlords have their email addresses of tenants, we could just cover that right there, quick and easy. You know, I'm thinking as well about what is the enforcement behind this? So if you don't have a copy of your lease, what do you do? Who do you contact? Who do you go to?
So the ordinance lays out fines for landlords. So first of all, we'd have to know about it, right? And then we have to engage. And so the city does have a role if we're called upon to engage and to find out if the landlord in question is handing these out, and if not, to give a reminder. And then if that doesn't work, then there's they should be aware that they're subject to fines until that is shared. Tenants will hopefully also take the initiative to not only let us know, but let the landlord know. And really the first step is to talk to their the property manager or the landlord before going to the city. But not everybody does that. A lot of people just think, I've talked to this person before, I'm not going to call them anymore, I'm going to talk to the city. And we get that, we respond. Sometimes we will call the landlord if it seems like there's a miscommunication, there's nothing insidious here, nobody is being indifferent. Unfortunately, we've had, as you know, some landlords who have been indifferent, but on the whole, the DAR representatives have shown with their presence and participation in this that they're wanting to work together on this.
So perhaps it sounds like the best course of action for a tenant who finds themselves in a situation where they don't have a copy of their executed lease, perhaps what that tenant's next step should be is to ensure that their landlord is aware that they need a copy of that, and then make sure that their landlord is also aware that they intend to go to the city at the point in time that they do not get what they've requested. And so moving forward, then the enforcement would be the fines. Yes. So I guess I want to make sure that we have that mapped out and we're prepared to tell tenants what their action steps should be. And perhaps there's a spot that should be very simply laid out.
I think we can probably do that. I'll work with Scott Zach, who's sitting 10 feet from me. We'll start tomorrow. We'll get something up on our website so people can find that in a pretty easy pull down. That hey, if this, then read this.
Okay.
That would help. Saying it's on the website is one thing, but people may not have the patience to find it. Patience to find it in 3 or 4 clicks, and may still not find it under duress. So.
Yeah, come up, Pastor Joe.
Alderman Morris, if I could just address your question about the people in particular in your ward, in the Antiglenny North neighborhood. My understanding is that the city is making Wi-Fi service available, and there ought to be a way to post these ordinances and even advertise the fact that they're available on the website, you know, when people click onto that to use the internet, rather than, you know, have to go to the city directly. There ought to be a way to do that. As long as I'm up here, I want to make a couple of comments if I can. First of all, I want to thank you. I want to backtrack and thank you for supporting the social service agencies that you did tonight. I think you've done more than you might realize that you do. I've been on the boards of various agencies here in Dekalb, and they all live and die by grants, by funding from the federal government, state government, corporations, and so forth. And one of the things that all of those grant applications has is what local buy-in do you have? How much support do you have in your own local community? You know, how do we know you're really doing what you ought to be doing. So the involvement of local government is a big plus. It's like, it's like a matching fund when you subscribe to public radio. It's a good gesture that way. You get more bang for your buck. The major changes that happened in the landlord-tenant ordinances have to do with the notice that a landlord has to give a tenant if he or she plans on visiting. That changed from 1 hour to 12 hours or the next day. The character of the city has changed. Once upon a time, we had a whole lot of students living in residence halls, and then when they got to be sophomores or juniors, they moved out, and then they could have a party in their apartment, and maybe the kids that were coming to those parties were not all 21. And so there were loud parties, and in lieu of calling upon the police to come over and break this up and so forth, a landlord might stop by and say, break it up, guys, go home, and so forth and so on. They can still do that. Landlords can still do that. I hope they still do. Rather than have to call the police in each and every time. But as we're having more and more families that are moving into these complexes and so forth, to give somebody an hour notice who's got 3 kids and so forth and so on, that's a whole different story. So, I mean, that just reflects a change in that sense. The other change has to do with prohibiting landlords, especially bigger landlords, so, that you've been dealing with for a while, from impounding people's cars, from having them towed away. If you have somebody, who's got a job, but their kid is sick, and so they have to miss a couple, 3 days of work, and then they fall behind in the rent, and then they can't get to work because you've towed their car, and they have to buy this out of hock and so forth. Who does that serve? Who does that serve? And I want to thank Dara for cooperating with us. What we're bringing forward was really adopted by consensus by both the representatives from Dara, and they were extraordinarily helpful in really being our institutional memory. When I say, for instance, well, it was an hour, now we say 12. Why did it used to be an hour? Well, Will Heinrich knows that.
Alderman McAdams.
So I wanted to touch on the Security Deposit Return Act and the mechanism and how that works and how a resident can address it to bring that into play.
That's been a moment of stress and crisis sometimes for many. And there has unfortunately been the assumption by many of our tenants in our community that I'll never see that again. Even though I've kept a nice house, a few dings on the wall, but the $350 or whatever the heck it was, $700 will more than cover that. I can get something. So that has to be enforced as well, and that's something we've been talking about. Well, both the front end and the back end and everything in between needs probably to be spelled out, and people need to find an easy way to know what their rights and responsibilities are. But that is covered in both in the handbook and also in this ordinance. So it's a matter of getting people to find the pathway to know what their obligations and their expectations are. Reasonable expectations.
And I just wanted to say that Joe was right. It took a tremendous amount of work on behalf of a number of parties over a long period of time to get to this point. All of these provisions appear to be very reasonable, and it sets kind of a level playing field for everyone. So I can't imagine that there's a landlord in town that would disagree with anything in here. It all seems particularly common sense.
Maybe if I just say one
Absolutely,
last thing,
City
Mayor. It was very heartening to us all, I think, as we were talking, for instance, about this 1 hour versus a 12-hour, and we told those 3 gentlemen I mentioned, who are certainly very professional, and to a person they said, well, we don't do that. We don't consider that professional practice. And Joe's absolutely right. It was known as the Keg Rule. So you had that keg, and some people are legal, some people aren't, and you're drinking and having a good time, and you're too loud, and you're out in the yard, and you're keeping the neighbors awake. So 1 hour used to be, I'm going to warn you, I'm going to come back here in an hour, or the police will be here in an hour, and you better get rid of that keg. And, miraculously, the keg disappeared somewhere, and so did the underage drinkers. That's not the demographic of most of our apartments these days. It's just simply not. So it's important to give people reasonable notice, just as you would for almost anything else.
Any other comments, council? Hearing none. Oh, Alderwoman Morris.
I just want to thank the HRC and these community members, Will Heinisch, Glenn Roby, and Mike Pitsley, who worked so hard to make this happen. I think we've been waiting for a long time, and your effort to create a robust solution certainly shows, so thank you.
Well said. Hearing no other comments, roll call, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Ordinance 2022-001 passes on first reading. Is there a desire to, okay.
Motion to waive second reading and approve?
Second?
Motion to waive second reading by Alderman Verbic, seconded by Alderman McAdams. Comments, council? Hearing none, roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
We have waived second reading for ordinance 2022-001. Moving on to agenda item M2, ordinance 2022-002, amending chapter 23, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 5, Zoning District Regulations, and Article 7, Supplemental District Regulations pertaining to self-service storage facilities with exterior unit access. Can I have a motion?
So moved?
Moved by Alderwoman Larson, seconded by Alderman Favor. Is that accurate? Okay. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This item and the next item are obviously linked. There is a party that is interested in developing a self-service storage facility with exterior access over at 118 Clive Drive. That's currently zoned GC, General Commercial. What's proposed here is to add that type of use as special use, and in the LC Light Commercial District and the GC General Commercial District. And to say it's a special use, I mean, it requires a hearing before the Plan Commission and the Council to allow lots of public input. It's not something that can be done by the Building Department or something like that. The amendments are identified in detail in your background, and also in some detail in the background that I prepared. And I went a little bit further in my usual summary because this is something that we feel is useful and is complementary in certain respects in limited zoning districts. And so the details are laid out for you on page 16 in your background for tonight. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered these at length at their regular meeting just before the holiday break in December. They recommended your approval by a vote of 5-0, and we support their recommendation, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council? Hearing none, roll call.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Ordinance 2022-002 passes on first reading.
And we ask that this go to second reading so that we can proceed to the next item.
You betcha.
Move to waive second reading and approve?
I'm sorry, did you want us to waive second reading?
No, I would like you to, well, yes, to waive.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Not to miss it.
Beautiful. All right. I have a motion to waive second reading by Alderwoman Morris
Second.
and a seconded by Alderman Verbeek. Comments? Roll call, please.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Faber,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 aye.
Thank you.
Second reading has been waived for ordinance 2022-002. Hey, before I forget, Reverend Gastiger, I forgot after the last one, just wanted to say thanks for all your time that you've spent with the Human Relations Commission, but also just in the role of chair. I know that's just an extra burden, an extra weight, and some extra time. I just want to make sure you know how much council appreciates all of our commission members, and especially those that chair those meetings, so thank you. All right, moving on to agenda item M3, ordinance 2022-003, approving a special use permit for a self-service storage facility with exterior unit access to be located at 118 Clive Drive, Haywell, LLC. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Perkins, seconded by Alderman Verbeek. City Manager.
So here is the first special use permit in pursuit of a self-service storage facility with exterior access at 118 Clive Drive. The petitioner, Tim Hayden, is in the audience tonight and would also be available to answer any questions you may have. We have outlined really the background for the previous item speaks to this as well. But consumer self-storage has been of greater interest in recent years. You had to consider and eventually supported the self-storage with the interior access a couple months ago. Exterior access to self-storage facilities has been available in Dekalb for some time, but the number of units has been limited. Was proposed here as a facility with 169 total units of varying sizes in order to please a public that sometimes wants smaller units rather than larger units. And the petitioner finds that the location at 118 Clive Drive is more than adequate for what he is proposing to do. He wants to have a very quiet development, has access through one main gate. There's not extraneous parking to invite people who are there for other reasons and not the reasons intended. The only parking is really right outside that office building that's proposed here. There will be a landscape berm that will also make this a more subtle addition to the landscape as you're going west on Lincoln Highway past Peace Road. The particular unit here or the particular site has not been developed over the last 10 years. There have been some other interests, but either because of the size or the considerable setbacks from Clive and also from Lincoln Highway, they haven't accommodated some of the larger commercial interests that have looked around that corridor. So the Plan Commission took this into account when they had their hearing on December 20th after the hearing on the text amendments we just talked about. And we're likewise unanimous in supporting the possibility of this particular development within the new guidelines. And their recommendation comes to you with the staff support.
Council?
I should also show you a rendering which you may have seen in your background. The subject site is bordered here in black. The site as it looks now from an aerial view, as you can see, there was a concrete crushing operation going on in the background. Clive Drive runs perpendicular to Lincoln Highway is shown there. The layout of the buildings, the setbacks from Lincoln Highway and also from Clive Drive. The berm is probably, this would be the new, upon completion, landscaping, which is designed to fill in with, these are large, these will become large mature trees, and they would be larger trees as they're planted. From looking looking northeast through, you can see the, hopefully I can do this with that. Yeah. So you can see, impressed, Dan, the berm here with the landscaping, and then that will obviously fill in, and the idea is to make this a very subtle addition to the community that people who are willing to find this to their advantage will enjoy, and others will abide as they go east and west on Lincoln Highway. So that's the layout.
Council? Hearing no questions or comments, roll call.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 ayes.
Ordinance 2022-003 passes on first reading.
The petitioner has requested second reading, so they can proceed.
Motion to waive second reading and approve?
Second.
Motion by Alderman Verbeek, seconded by Alderman Perkins. Comment? Roll call, please.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes,
Yes.
8 ayes.
Second reading has been waived for ordinance 2022-003. Mr. Hayden, welcome to Dekalb. Look forward to having a successful project. I know you're going to have a great experience with city staff, but of course, any issues whatsoever, please reach out to council and let us know. All right, moving on to agenda item M4, ordinance 2022-004, authorizing a zoning map amendment for the LC Light Commercial District to the SFR2 Single Family Residential District for 1421 East Lincoln Highway. Can I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderwoman Larson. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. An interesting conflict was identified between private marketplace rules and city zoning codes, which was brought to our attention in late fall and just before the holidays. And I'm happy to say in this case, we think we have a reasonable solution to this. The area in question is also along Lincoln Highway, but further west of the site we were just talking about at 1421 East Lincoln. As you look at this site, if you're driving by and you identify the street address, you'll see houses on either side of it. And if you were looking for a house, an affordable house, you might say, oh, this is great, I'm buy this house, and you might be reminded pretty early, or you might be informed fairly early by, if you had to get a mortgage, that if the house you want to buy was to be destroyed by fire, it could not be rebuilt because what looks like a residential zoning is really light commercial. So that has halted just what would normally be in the private marketplace, a natural evolution, new owners, people looking to fix things up, get a start, whatever the motivation is. And that has also affected the petitioner in this instance. The resolution to this is at hand because if the property was rezoned, it would not be out of character with the look of the other properties that are adjacent to it, running some lots to the east and some lots to the west. And I'm pleased with that result. That isn't always the case, and on occasion we will have the situation where that house is surrounded by, say, commercial or other types of buildings, and then you're just at a loss as to what to do. But in this case, we feel the conditions are right. So did the Planning and Zoning Commission when it reviewed this recently, and we ask that you support their recommendation in behalf of the rezoning to SFR2, which does allow, according to our UDO, housing of this type. The SFR1 does not.
Council? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Morris,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Mayor Barnes?
Yes.
8 aye.
So ordinance 2022-004 passes on first reading.
Motion to waive second reading and approve?
Second.
Motion to waive second reading by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderwoman Morris. Comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Larson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Perkins?
Yes.
McAdams?
Yes.
Verbic?
Yes.
Favor?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Mayor Barnes?
Yes.
8 aye.
Second reading has been waived for ordinance 2022-004. All right, moving on to agenda item N, reports and communication. Council member reports. I'm going to start with Alderman McAdams. Bam.
No report.
How about Alderman Smith?
Just pay attention to your sidewalks. We have a lot in the town that haven't been shoveled. Some of the neighbors have been plowing out some of the elderly, and they really appreciate that. Second thing is cars. Please get your cars moved, or, so that the guys can finish cleaning the streets before we get our next big snow, and then it's even a bigger issue. And thank you, Joe, for your participation, sir, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Smith. Alderwoman Morris.
I would like to encourage everyone to get vaccinated. I experienced COVID in December, and it was not fun. My whole family is now fully vaccinated, which is really exciting. I want to encourage you to get your younger children vaccinated now that that's an option. One of the benefits of that now is that those children are able to return to school even if they have been a close contact. So you don't end up in a situation where you're sick, staying home with healthy children, running around the house, having lots of fun. And get boosters. It sounds like on January 19th, the Public Health Department will be hosting a big vaccine clinic. If anyone can tell us where that's at, that'd be great, because I don't have that information. But that's a good opportunity for boosters for adults, and I believe now children ages 12 to 15 as well, which is really exciting. Where's that?
We'll confirm. It's typically at the Convo Center.
Okay, and so we think that's at the Convocation Center, January 19th.
And is that something you'll put out, Scott, as we're aware of something like that? Fantastic.
Okay, that's
Great,
all.
great
Thank
idea.
you.
Alderwoman Larson.
Well, I want to thank all the guys on the snow plows that have gone through the ice and the snow and around the parked cars and everything, because I've had to go out a few times and I'm like, oh, this is going to be terrible. And I was like, no, the guys have been out there and it's been great. And also kind of for all the healthcare workers that are still dealing with overcrowding because of COVID still taking over our hospitals and stuff. So I know to them it must be, there's no end in sight, and I appreciate that they go to work every day.
Alderman Perkins.
No report.
Alderman Verbeck.
No report.
Alderman Favor.
I was just like Alderman Smith, I was going to say, it's been tough trying to keep the sidewalks clean just because I put down salt and it did nothing. The water froze over the top of the salt. So, but looking at the forecast, tomorrow it's going to be 28, and Wednesday it's going to be 34. So that's your opportunity to get out and clean your sidewalks.
For myself, Happy New Year, 2022. 2021 was pretty crazy, but it's amazing from a city perspective what we were able to accomplish and what this council has been able to accomplish. I say it all the time, but thanks for just letting me work with you all and let us be as successful as we have been in 2021 in 2022. Echoing a couple comments, snowplows, Andy, your team. I know people give comments and they expect the world, but we do know the amount of time and energy that your team puts out there, the hours that they spend, and they have to deal with breakdowns and salt shortages and people leaving their cars out there and a litany of things. But we do thank you and your team. Make sure you pass that on for keeping our community as safe as possible by the great job that you all do. And then I'll echo what Alderwoman Morris said about getting vaxxed. Get vaxxed, get double vaxxed, get boosted, get everything you possibly can. Wash your hands, wear your mask. We're still in the height of this thing, so as many of us that can do our due diligence, it's going to allow us to be able to live a normal life as much as we possibly can. So I highly, highly encourage everyone to do that. With that, City Manager report.
Scott Zach just mentioned that it is confirmed it will be at the Convo Center, so thank you for that. Just very briefly, I'd like to introduce Carrie Dittman, who is our new finance director. Carrie earned her Bachelor of Arts in Accounting from Benedictine University, where she graduated summa cum laude. That means 4.0. Got her CPA, got involved in the private sector, moved into public accounting, and also back in 2015 was working on our audit. Since then, she's been in the municipal finance sector, and she comes to us with a fine resume, and also I've had the occasion to work with her now for 6 days, and she's a wunderkind. She knows her stuff, and we're all looking forward to working with her for a long time.
Welcome aboard. All right. Hearing no other report, moving on to agenda item O, executive session, we have none. And with that, agenda item P, adjournment. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Verbeek, seconded by all in favor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, same sign. We are adjourned. Hey, Smith.